Hi folks, and welcome to this episode of Michael's Backyard Marina, Frankenstein Part 2. We're going to do some modifications to old Franky here. You guys saw in the last video how I assembled it, how I got it running. Now it's time to do some tweaking and tuning and making things as they should be. First thing I had a question about, and I tried to look it up, and I saw anywhere from 130 pounds to 160 pounds of what a original, like a 30 horse Suzuki. There's a DT, I think it's a DT 30C, so it's a 30 horse Suzuki. The age ranges between 88 and 92, I think, something like, or 90 something. Anyway, somewhere in that range. All I could find was information on 2 cylinders, and one I tore apart was a 3-cylinder. So anyway, it was a 30 horse. I put a 21 horse V-twin on here, obviously, but I was curious what it weighed, so I could see if I was actually eclipsing what was there before or not. Now, like I said, at the high end of the spectrum, I saw 161 on some research, but if anybody out there knows what one weighs, I'd be happy to know it. Leave it in a comment below. This guy here comes in right at 160. I've got it floating here. And it comes in at 160, so my curiosity is satisfied. And the reason I was curious about that is I was wondering how much boat do I need to put underneath this thing in order to support that weight. The cool part is it doesn't weigh much more than if any, more than a regular 30 horse outboard weighs anyway. So, with that being said, my goal is to put it under an extra wide, extra deep with a short shaft transom, 16-foot John boat. So that's what I'm looking for, and I want to put this under it and see what it'll do. But we got some more work to do. We got to quieten this thing down. It's loud. I want to put the muffler on it, and then we're going to address the wiring. Let's get busy working on Frankenstein. Part 2. All right, I know you guys are dying to hear it run again, so am I. So let's fire it up. Choke on. If that don't make your heart beat fast, nothing will. You're dead inside. Oh, let's put this muffler on now. Now that I've got the pipes preheated. Now let's see what it sounds like. Much quieter. Blow a little air out these bolt holes. Doesn't sound good when you blow air out your bolt hole. Get you a bunch of bolt hole air. I'm going to use these eventually to hold on a heat shield. Right now they're going to hold the bolt hole shut. Let's fire it up again. It's pretty quiet. Woo! Torque, 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 torque. Torque, 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 torque. Nothing but torque. That sounds so much quieter. All right, now it's time to go after this harness. I got this electrical box I picked up at the hardware store. I'm gonna have to fabricate me a plate to go out here a little further, then I'll bolt this down to it. And it's got a lid that I'll fasten the key switch onto, the hour meter. I can put the starter solenoid inside here, so I can get all the electrical buttoned up and coming in through here. But now, I've got to go through, because we're not, right now, currently with this wiring harness, the way it's set up, if I unplug the mower blade engage switch, or if I unplug it, nothing happens. So I got to figure out which wires to jump, bypass, or whatnot to make this all work. So that's going to take me a couple minutes. And we'll time lapse it as we make some progress on that. Alrighty, we got the wiring whittled down to just a few wires. And we can shorten a lot of this up once I get it in place, or just combine it all in a box so it's all neat and clean. I'm going to have a 20 amp fuse, the rectifier or the voltage regulator, I guess it's called, something like that. My switch and my hour meter. I never did check to see if the hour meter works. I know you guys want to hear it run again, so let's just see if the hour meter works while it's running. Whoops. Always helps if you have ground. Let's try it now. Okay, no hour meter. Let's chase some of that wiring down and see what's going on with that. Got the hour meter working. Turns out this apparently was plugged into something that connected the circuit. So the cool part is I should be able to take these two wires and just splice them together, and we make that connection permanent. It's all working. We have our plate cut and shaped to my satisfaction. box is mounted, key switch is installed, hour meter installed. There's room on this panel for other switches, which I will probably use to power the boat lights or other auxiliary type stuff. Maybe even put a couple of USB chargers in here, make Frankenstein a little more modern. That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Cool part is, now I'm committed. I'm going to start cutting and soldering and reconnecting so I can pilot these wires through here cleanly. And all of these wires here will probably end up shortened and sweetened and stuck inside the box here. I've got new cables, battery cables, some 8-gauge coming, which it's actually marine grade, which will be 10 coated copper. We'll make new lugs for all of this stuff here, and I'll have some quick connects, some industrial style quick connects that I'll be able to plug everything together. So there'll be a pigtail out of here that I'll plug in that hooks it to the battery. And the battery have its own pigtail as well. So then this thing will be tidied up in a nice neat little package. The only thing we'll do next is create a fuel line connection. I've got room over this other side over here to mount a fuel line quick connect, either on that side or on this side. I haven't decided which yet. I could even use the original Suzuki quick connect, but we'll see what I decide to do. I might go ahead and use like a Johnson or a Mercury quick connect just because it's more commonplace. All right, with that, let's get busy cutting and soldering and neatening up this wiring mess. Well, the progress so far is I've got all the wires soldered that need to be soldered that I can solder right now in the box. I will be extending the negative cable and the positive cables because I got to run the positive to the solenoid, from the solenoid to here, and from the other side of the solenoid to come out of the box into the battery. Same way with this negative terminal will come both out, negative grounded outside the box here. This one's also obviously in the box. And when I negative ground this to the box, this will be more or less like this, then with the rest of the cable going to the battery. So that's as far as I can go until I get my rest of my wiring. The other thing I have here is these connectors that I'm going to use. These are pretty slick little connectors. When these go in, they'll actually create a lot of tension. Oops. When these go in, they'll actually create a lot of tension. These will lock into place. This is where I'll solder my other wire into. Then I'll have a nice positive negative connection here coming out of the box that I can hook up to make the motor live with electricity. And I'll put another one probably down the battery. So I can have a pigtail that comes off the battery permanently. And off that battery one, I'll have a place where I can actually put a trickle charger if I want to. But I've got a few more of these coming. 2 of them showed up today. I'm not sure where the rest of them are, but we'll have to check on the shipping on that. But I thought these were pretty cool. They also have a screw hole here, so if I decided I wanted to screw this up to the top of the box to support the wiring, I can. And then this other piece could easily, whoops, wrong way. I could do that, and then this other piece could just connect to it and be supported. So we'll have to play around with that a little bit. So far so good, I'm pleased with how it turned out. The other thing that's kind of cool that came with these was a little cover. So I think little cover here came with that little cover you can put on there That would help to protect the ends whenever you're not in use. Pretty slick. I like these little guys. They're small. Finally, my wiring arrived. Woohoo! We can finish buttoning up the wiring on Frankenstein and put it in some water and see what it will do. Okay, a water barrel, not actually on a boat, but we're getting closer every day. All right, now that the wiring's here, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to create a jumper to go from my battery. And please excuse the mess on my bench. I'm working on that, folks. I apologize. I don't like it this messy. It's driving me absolutely crazy. But I'm going to create the jumper wire that runs basically kind of like a jumper cable, but it's just going to be a cable, 4-foot long cable that's going to connect my battery to my Frankenstein. And I'm going to use these fancy dancy little industrial style plugs to make my connections, so I can easily unplug the battery, take it with me, do something with it, or disconnect the motor, or just take the whole works out and do whatever I want with this wire. This is 8 gauge. This is big enough to handle the battery that I'm putting to it. It's a 12-volt battery, but it's a lawn and garden battery. It's not your normal car battery. Car battery, you see a cable that is 2-3 times this size. So this is perfect for what is on here. Matter of fact, this is a 8 gauge wire that was originally on the lawnmower. So why wouldn't it be good enough to still use? So that's what I'm going to use. And we're going to make all the connections today, and I'm going to walk you through that as I do it. I'm going to show you the connections. We're going to do a little soldering. Soldering's fun. You guys know that. And soldering is the best way to hook this type of wiring together to prevent corrosion and bad connections from developing over time. Let's get busy soldering. All right, we've got our wire stripped back a little bit, and then I've got this lug that I'm using here that came with the plug connectors. They're all, looks like they're also tin coated, maybe silver coated, I don't know. I'm guessing tin. We're gonna take my little torch here. We're gonna warm this up. We're gonna fill this full of solder. I got a little bit of spillage here, I'm going to fix that. Just going to heat that up so it melts again. Wipe it off. Looks like I could probably put a little more in there. There we go, now we're full. We'll let that cool. It cools pretty rapidly. And then what I'll do is I'll put a piece of heat shrink tube. Pick the appropriate size here. Looks like that one will work. We'll cut us a chunk of that. That all looks pretty good. Now I'm going to take the heat shrink tube, slide from the other end. Zoom out on you here. I'll just have to remember to put it on before I put the lug on the other end, eh? Okay. So once that's, I can slide that right up over there, just like that. Get it on up there. I think that's what I want, about like that. Use a little torch again. Got to keep the distance away, or keep it away so you don't burn it. Now you got yourself a rock solid connection there. And it appears that these slide in. You want to get that little foot pointed. So there's a little metal piece. Let's see if I can see this here. Little metal piece, and that foot's got to go this way. So when you pop this in there, hear that audible click. Now that's in there making contact. And I just looked, by luck, I got it on the positive side with the red one. Man, I almost screwed that up. But now you've got a connection there that's rock solid. And when you put the other one together, these can only go together one way. So when I put the other one together, the positive and the positive would be together like that. So right now we're making the jumper cord. And this will just be my connection. That's going to keep it neat and tidy. Going to the battery. So let's do the negative one now. And now that you saw how I did the first one, I'm just gonna time lapse you through the rest of it, because no sense of wasting time showing you how to do it about 8 more times. So let's just enjoy the music and watch the magic happen. And just like that, we've got our little 4-foot jumper made. As you can see, when you plug it together, as long as you match up positive to positive, you'll have positive to positive, negative to negative. But it's a nice solid connection there that won't just fall apart on you. Now that we've got the jumper made, let's make the battery or the connections for the motor. Let's get up in there and do that. Let's go to the motor. Okay, one of the cables we got to recreate is this one. Went from the starter solenoid, which used to sit right next to the battery, to the battery. Obviously that's too short. This is a crimped connection they've got on here, which I think I can actually just uncrimp and actually use these connections over again, because they look like good connections, and solder them in place and put some heat shrink on them and reuse these caps, these covers again. So it'll be kind of stock, but kind of not. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half and see if we can dissect this and create a new cable. All right, looks like that worked. I just took my old putty knife, drove down in the wedge here, or in the split, and was able to open it up. So it's ready for me to crimp it onto my new wire. Whoops, crimp it onto my new wire and solder it in place. Let's do that now. Now the cool thing about this is going to go to the starter solenoid, obviously, and it also has to have this wire soldered into it too. So we got to get both of those on there inside here, which should be easy. And then I'll feed the positive through the back here like this. And this will go to the plug that'll plug into the jumper. Then I'll have a negative ground wire that'll bolt onto here that'll also go right into that jumper. Then I've made my connections. From there, there's going to be yet another one that'll come out of here, though, that'll go and hook up to the starter. So I'll replace this one that comes off with a nice new tin-coated copper wire. So that's why I wanted to preserve as much of this wire as I could. And now I probably could just unplug this now we can go over to the bench and create this wire. Okay, as you can see here, I've recreated, pull this back a little bit, recreated the connection that goes to the starter solenoid, and also reattached my little hot wire that's supposed to be there. So it's all looking pretty factory there. Factory Frankenstein, that is. All right, did a little bit of work off camera because it's just boring to watch me cut and solder over and over again. But now we have the new battery wire coming in. Well, this one actually goes to the starter. This one here is going to go to the battery, which I have one terminal already hooked up to our quick connect. What I've got left to do now is convert my starter or my ground wire over to my new wire and put it in this part, and that way I am plug and play. So let's get that done now. Well, and the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drill and tap this plate here. I'm going to drill and tap this plate and put a bolt in it so I can actually ground it right there. So that'll be clean and neat. All right, let me walk you through what we got going on here. So I made a pigtail with those plugs coming off the battery, so I can disconnect the battery anytime I want. This is also a 4-foot jumper, as you saw, that goes clear over to here. I can disconnect the outboard anytime I want. Connect it any time I want. So that's independent. That's pretty cool. Inside here, as I showed you before, we've got, get this thing positioned here for you. Inside here, we've got the positive coming in from the battery, which is covered. We got the positive on the other side of the solenoid. We've got all this other wiring hooked up. We're ready to put the faceplate back on here, and let's fire it up and make her run. All right, the wiring's all buttoned up, neat and tidy. Let's see if she works. Nice. Well, kids, you know what this means. We gotta put it in some water. Let's make it splash. Let's get Frankenstein a little wet. We'll step back a little bit. See, what I anticipate seeing is this battery will be in the boat like all lawn and garden batteries are not. Ha ha ha. Because normally you have a car battery. Well, this thing's run off a lawn garden battery its whole life, so why wouldn't it work in a boat? So this pigtail is going to get it to where I can put this battery behind the seat, in front of the seat, somewhere nearby, and still get all my mobility. No different than a regular hookup that would be coming out the front of a regular outboard motor. So this is going to work pretty slick. I'm thrilled with it, how it turned out. These connectors are amazing. This tin coated wire is awesome. It is, look, it even says right there, boat cable. You don't get any better than that. This is boat cable wires, baby, boat cable. You might have satellite, you might have dish, you might have network streaming, but you can't go wrong with boat cable TV. Frankenstein! All right, we got the Frankenstein sitting in the water, and it ain't for the cooling. It's just to see how it handles the pressure of the prop. Let's go ahead and fire it up. you guys saw, that thing will move a lot of water. There's some other tweaking I want to do yet, which is it's idled a little higher than I want it to be. So I'm going to have to do some adjustment. There, from what I'm understanding, there's a governor spring, or there's an idle spring adjustment, but it's by bending a tab, I've learned. I tried messing around with the governor. That was a no-no, but we'll get that straightened out. But it idles a little bit higher than I want. When I hold the idle thing, it can idle pretty low, which is nice, which will make it easier for snapping into gear. As you heard, when I snapped it into gear, it clunked in, but it didn't hurt anything. It didn't grind. It just popped into gear. But I don't want to do that for the long haul, because that just puts a lot of shock on everything that it doesn't need, especially when I can idle it down lower. We're going to call Frankenstein Part 2 a success. It's in the water. We know it pushes water. It pushes a lot of water. This barrel ain't got I need a lake worth of water for this thing, it looks like. So stay tuned for Part 3. Part 3 will be playing with the idle, getting it down, getting that fine-tuned, and then I'm going to get a throttle control situation worked out with a tiller handle. That'll be Part 3. And we'll, hopefully after Part 3 is done, we will be sticking it in the water, because I'm hoping by that time I'll have the banana ready, and it's a boat big enough to handle it. And we'll drop that thing in the water, and we'll see how fast it'll make the banana go. And here again, I'm not really too concerned about speed. I want the power. I want the ability to take this motor and put it in a little bit of muck, heavy weeds, stuff like that, and not have to worry about the water pump, because this is an air-cooled motor, like I've said many times before. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The wiring worked out well. The whole thing's going really well so far. I couldn't be happier. So stay tuned for Part 3. See you on the next video, folks. Get out there and have some fun. Enjoy your day. It's springtime here, or summertime almost here now. It's getting warm. Get out there and have some fun. Get your bug spray out and enjoy life. This is Michael. I'm out.